there is some good news from the African Continental Free Trade Area. In the World Economic Forum, Mr. Mwakele Mene, who is the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, announced that in 2024, 31 countries will be operating or joining the Pan-African payment system, meaning entering into trading into the system of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Hello, I am Mahleta Yala, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent. So the African Continental Free Trade Area is one of the flagship projects of the Agenda 2063, in which, in the 50 years projection of this African unity named as the Agenda 2063, established in or introduced in 2013, it selected the African Continental Free Trade Area is one of the flagship projects of the continent. And in fact, it's one of the areas that the African leaders are actually performing well and, agreed so much. So many of them have signed and ratified this project for it to come into operation. So this was done in 2018, and then it entered in 2018 in Kigali, and then in 2019 it was, it entered into force. So now let me just go ahead and spill some tea about these 31 countries joining in 2024 in the Pan-African payment system. So this is the African Continental Free Trade Area, bringing, as 55 countries together, and also 8 regional economic forums. We have the West, the North, the Central Africa, the Southern, the East. So it all this comes together. So now, just to give you a quick background, so far 47 countries have ratified their instrument of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement, and out of these 46 ratified, and they deposited, because it's another stage, deposited their instrument of ratification. 7 countries out of this have signed, but yet to ratify, and only 1 country is yet to sign. So now let's get into it. So these are the countries, in Kigali, when our leaders have signed for the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, what does it take, for the countries to trade under, this is a background again, to trade under the Afcfta, is that countries are supposed to first sign the Afcfta agreement and then ratify the agreement and deposit the instruments of ratification. And then the second stage is for the countries to gazette the FTA certificate of origin, and then the tariff book, so that the customs at the border can recognize these goods and the certificate of origin. Now, going to the new 31 countries joining the Pan-African payment system in this year, is that, so the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat has vowed to extend the recently promulgated free trade regime to 31 countries this year, after a successful pilot project in 7 countries last year. They have selected 7 countries in 2023 as a pilot project, and then they operated in that, and they have learned. There was some challenges and opportunities, so now they are rising strong, and then 31 countries are to join. So the African Continental Free Trade Area is the world's largest free trade area, in case if you didn't know, bringing together 55 countries of the African Union and 8 regional economic communities to create a single continental market with a population of about 1.3 billion people and a combined gross domestic product of approximately 3.4 trillion. Wow, or naira 64 trillion of the naira. So that is really quite a big, so it will make it the world's biggest free trade area. So now he continues, Mr. Nwakele Mene, who is the Secretary General of Afcfta. He says that our intention this year, is to accelerate the implementation of Afcfta. So last year we had 7 countries that took part in a pilot of trading under the rules of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now this year there will be 31 who will be participating in the guided trading initiative. That is their directive, let's say, that is a guideline applying the preferential rules of the African Continental Free Trade Area for trade. So that's what the Secretary General said. So now he also said that the products that are traded under the African Continental Free Trade Area from processed, so it ranged when they were testing in the 7 countries last year, it ranged from processed agricultural products to manufactured goods and to services also. So the lessons that we learned were that actually the private sector across the continent is ready to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Governments have to move much faster. It's always that political will that we are lacking in the continent. When it comes to the unity, if you go to the ordinary people, to the African people, in fact, nobody really, most of the people will say yes for the African unity with no, with no conditions. But that political will is lacking. Look, now the trade is happening. There is economical integration, of regional economical integration in different regions of the continent, but it's always the lack of our leaders, of the lack of political will that is, lagging the unity of the continent. And the same thing is happening in this African Continental Free Trade Area. Unless that political will is coming, this will also just up in the air and make us excited with implementation. Yeah. Now, that's really a very good lesson pointed out by Secretary General Nwakele Mene. Now, he continues also, last year, the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat has selected the 7 countries where Cameroon, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Mauritius, Rwanda, and Tanzania to participate in the initiative on guided trade trial, which enables the selected countries to access certain markets at preferential rates for certain products. Now, for example, Kenya was able to trade milk, cheese, textiles, and horticulture products in West and Central Africa, and Rwanda was able to trade telephones, textiles, insecticides, pesticides, processed food, and horticulture products as well. So this year, what they are hoping is that the intensified efforts will be on the service sector like tourism, banking, within the framework of this pilot guided trading initiative that we are implementing. That's really important, that they have their guideline initiative because, with that countries will be, we will know how to operate with that. Now, I will just go ahead and give you more background because there's no, definition or explanation for the Pan-African payment system. This was actually, discovered or innovated by Africans, I think, in Nigeria to win the challenge of using the dollar and euro to overcome the challenge of dollar and euro. Those are the dominating transactional currencies. So this is created by Africans, and so this will actually enable the African countries without worrying converting their currencies into euro or US dollars. They will be able to trade with their own currencies. How beautiful is that, isn't it? The same thing is what actually BRICS is doing, right? That the countries are transacting. Before BRICS, actually, let me say this out loud. before BRICS came up with this idea of countries transacting with their own currency, it was the Pan-African payment system that introduced being able, that countries are able to trade with their own currencies. Let that be in bold, written in your mind, because every time it's something, an innovation is of a next country outside Africa. This was actually innovated first by the African countries. This was not just, maybe the media did not introduce it or make noise about it, but this was really introduced 2 years ago, perhaps, by Africans when they are trying, to how to implement the African Continental Free Trade Area, trying to overcome their challenges. So now let me give you the Pan-African payment system. What does it mean? So number one, the Pan-African payment and settlement system is supposed to allow countries to trade in their own currencies, as I told you. For example, if a trader from Ethiopia is trading with a trader in Nigeria, let me show you. Okay, here in Nigeria, look at the map here, okay? Now look at this, Ethiopia and Nigeria. Perhaps maybe Ethiopia is trading with other countries outside of continent and doing also Nigeria the same. But now it will bring, these countries within the continent together. So for them to be able to trade amongst each other, and which is more profitable. So the example is that, Ethiopia and Nigeria, both central banks should be able to settle the payment of goods they are trading without worrying the dollar exchange rate. Now, another example to this is that of manufacturers are importing edible oils from Egypt. Why do they have to worry about the sliding of their currency to the dollar if they can trade with the Egyptian pound? Yeah, so countries need to think about the importation of their intermediate goods from within Africa and see if the Pan-African payment system can help. Now, another point about Pan-African payment system is that it's supposed to remove that stress of countries worrying about the cross-country exchange rate. In this case, this exchange between Naira to dollar, for example, when Ethiopia and Nigeria trade, so the Naira to dollar, and then the birr, the Ethiopian birr to dollar, Naira again. However, the adoption of the Pan-African payment system will depend on whether these currencies are stable. Okay, now it will remove that worry of sliding your currency into dollar, but this will depend on the countries are stable, because if you do not have the right macroeconomic fundamentals and convergence, then it cannot work. That's a very good point. Now, another point about the Pan-African payment system is that the area to monitor for countries is the macroeconomic convergence. One of the areas to look at is the fiscal coordination, current account balances of their reserve, which has an effect on the currency rate. It's hard if a country is importing more than exporting, then your balance is not good if it has a huge physical balance. So that will be a problem, but it's doable if your balance looks good and then you are not, you are stable, or the country is stable. Then this Pan-African payment system is doable, and the African Continental Free Trade Area is doable as well. So thank you very much again for tuning in. That was it for me, bringing you this good news. Somebody else is busy telling you the bad news from the continent, so I am here to give you the Pan-African perspective, because nobody is telling you, the Western media will not bring to you good news like this. So it's really encouraging. Go ahead and let us know in the comment section if your country, if you're from any African country, or your origin, if you are also in the diaspora or abroad, let's say that, and your origin is from Africa, let us know if your country has ratified and signed the African Continental Free Trade Area. That will be interesting to know. And thanks again for tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. give it a like if you like what we bring you here, and also please share the video so let everybody hear it. Let's spread the message. If you want to help us further, please go ahead and donate to our PayPal account in the description section or in the pinned comment. That's what is for me now, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao, ciao.